OneDrive is no longer the OneDrive of your old manager's yesteryears. Yeah, that's making me start to feel a little bit old. OneDrive has changed a lot over 10 years. It is not just a place for managing your personal files, it has become a central place for now managing and working with shared files across the places that we work, teams and sites and the like. So we're going to take a look at some of the key features around OneDrive. Not going to do a deep dive, but just race on through some of the key things that we can see as we look at the changes in OneDrive. We've got OneDrive. We know where to find that. We can get to it from our Microsoft 365 homepage and in the app launcher. Got that. Why would we go there? Well, we're not going to just use it for checking out our own files or synchronizing files, but we're going to use it to try and find a way around shared files as well. Let's race through some of the key things that we can see. Well, first of all, I quite like that this app is very snappy and quick to get around. If I, just click on through some of these choices and menus and places, they're loading up very quickly. It's not like I'm clicking and waiting for things to display on the screen. So I've got that. That's really cool. What's my landing page here? Well, the home is all about recent content, help me pick up from where I left off. So we have seen that in other different places as well, like even the home page at M365, of course. But here it is all about files and centralizing on that. So recent files, sure, I could glance through that and see what I've been working on lately. And if this list was a little bit longer, then I might narrow it down to just showing, oh, those are the Word files that I've been working on. But I can also go in and filter here based on name or keyword for a document. So this could be all engine. Yep, so it narrows it down, or it could also be based on the person that I can just recall and think, who was it that I was working with? It was Megan. Okay, found Megan. There's a couple of files that we have shared in common or she has contributed to. So quick and easy to go here rather than thinking about which conversation, going to a team or an email and trying to find where was that file that I was working on. What about so things that I've worked on and co-created with people? So these things that I can see in the activity column are quite key too. There are files that maybe I've been collaborating with someone, haven't touched for a little while, and I can see some recent activity in terms of who's been working on that. So there's Megan. She's been working on a loop file that I might not have touched for a little while, but she's opened it up and she's working on it based on, I think it was a meeting and a loop that we added to it. Keep moving along. So we've narrowed down the list. We've looked at the home page. There are some other things that I've got here, little stars beside the files. These are favorited files. I liken this to the pin files that we've had in the past where we can pin files within our application and we can easily get to them. But this actually centralizes it across my OneDrive and my application experience. So if I had gone into the Word web app and favorited the file there, then I would also see all of those favorites together, and we've actually got our own filter on the side here, a view of all of our favorited files. I would use this to maybe favorite things that I'm frequently working on that are my focus at the moment so I can get things done. And that way I know that I'm not just relying on it being recent things in my list, but it's there and easy to get to as this list grows. That's favorites. Now, what about the My Files? My Files are the traditional OneDrive that we might think of when we say OneDrive. We think of OneDrive as it's just about me and my files, but now we are looking at My Files. That is just part of the experience, and that certainly has improved. So we'll see My Files here. We've got new colored folders that we can use to organize and just as a visual cue just show what is this folder all about, and appropriately I've chosen purple for the Teams chat files just so I can jump in there and I know that if there's anything that I've attached to a conversation in a team, in a chat or in a meeting, then they're there. As I glance on through, we've got traditional files that I can look through and see the way that they're organized, modified by date, various other things like activity. So that's all, pretty quite standard. But it is still quite useful to go here and see the files that I've been working on. Files that I have created, but I haven't moved yet to a shared location. So I might create a file maybe from a web app. Let's just jump in and quickly create one here. So I'll open up Word, and as I'm working with Word and I start to add some content to that document, it is going to save by default into my OneDrive. So let's create a blank document. Probably could have done that from the Add New button, of course, but just to show you that this is a document, and it is saving automatically to my OneDrive. All right, so there it is. There's my system administrator as my name. There's my documents folder, and I might just say that this is a test doc because I'm being so imaginative today. So that has saved to my OneDrive. Let's go over to OneDrive, refresh that, of course, and you'll see if we go into modified by newer to older, that here's the test document and the little gleam there that we would see when something is brand new. So things that are saved by default, at least they're going somewhere in the cloud. And that way, at least if I want to then shift it to a shared location, then I've got that option to do so. You know, I can use the overflow menu among other different methods, go to move to, and then I've got a smaller version of my OneDrive, which is the window that we're starting to get familiar with whenever we're moving and working with files in the different places that we work. And because it's consistent, it means that I can quickly identify and know how to use this. I can go to a shared location, I can jump into the general channel for that document, and I can just move that document there, and away it goes. Pretty simple. There are files that sometimes I have added to private conversations. So this is where we bring up this example of Microsoft Teams chat files, where I have uploaded that to a chat. It's there, and you can see that I've added a loop component file to one of the chats with Megan and myself, and that's a quick and easy way to identify where those files are, what they're for. I don't have any good examples here in this account, but when I start to use things like Whiteboard, and I'm uploading whiteboards and sharing them to meetings, they're going to be there in a whiteboards folder. Similarly with Outlook attachments, if I have downloaded an attachment from an email, it's going to be there in a folder which I can quickly identify as Outlook, and it's content there. So we've got used to those sorts of things throughout the years. In recent times, if I was to add a OneNote notebook and I start to personal notebook, for example, notebook, good, then that's going to create by default a notebook that will be stored in my OneDrive. Now I was in the location where I wanted it to be. So the notebook is right there. But if I was over in, let's say, the web app for OneNote, and just taking a look at all the different OneNote notebooks that are available to me, or ones that I might want to create, let's just say that this is Project Radio. And I'm starting to work on some idea there, then as I create that notebook using the web app, it's going to create this in my OneDrive, and it's going to keep it all together in a folder called Notebooks. If we switch on back over to my OneDrive over here and just update that, then we should have a folder there called, there we go, Notebooks, and there's my notebook right there. So you can see, good pattern here for documents and things that I might create with web apps are being saved into my OneDrive, so at least I've got a place in the cloud for them, and I can shift them into the shared locations that they probably should be shared into. So moving on from that, we can look at shared files. So why is this useful? This means that if I know that I was working on something with people and someone has shared a file with me, then I can quickly go into this view and I can see what is that thing that I've been sharing with someone and working on it, or that that is by me, I've shared by me, or shared with me. So this first view that we see is actually the most comprehensive one. It gives us a lot of information because it's helping us to quickly catch up with what has been shared with me. All sorts of scenarios covered in this. So shared with me, I've got files that have been shared during a meeting and a conversation. There's a recording there from a meeting that I've had. There was also a Teams chat that I had with someone, and that's been shared as a file there. And you can see all the different little locations about where these are stored. These were being shared from Megan's OneDrive. Here's one where it was a whole folder that was shared with me, and so I can see that, and it was based in the Mark 8 team. So it's starting to bring together the experience of files and folders that are shared across all the locations that I work, not just my drive, but also those shared locations. And then files that are shared by you. Okay, so that's a quick list. It's not, it doesn't have anything extraordinary there in terms of when and what. Maybe I'd like to see a date column there, and it would sort of remind me about when I shared that file. But I've at least got a list of what is it that I have shared with people, who it is being shared with or modified by. So expect that one to grow. Now, if we start to take a look at some of the I'm gonna spend some time looking at browsing files by. These are reasonably new, and we've heard about them coming. Just arriving in this tenant today. With the people view, if I'm recalling that I've been working with a couple of people on documents, I can remember them by name, but I can't quite remember or track down what those files were. We saw that we could use the filter search at the beginning from that home page. But here, if I browse by files, and by people rather, then I can see two people that I've been working with. I can see the files that they have shared with me recently. So this feels like I don't know, maybe like a little timeline. Let's click into that. So it's actually operating like a folder here now. Nice, like a virtual folder that I can click in and see everything that I am working on with Megan from that perspective. So now that that's filtered down, I can see what the file was, where it's located, when I shared that with the person, and when it was shared with me rather as well, and the type of activity that has been going on there. So real clear signals here about when things were shared with me and when I might have recently opened and worked on a document that I've shared with Megan. You've got similar options here to filter things down, and you can also filter by those keywords too. So the people view is quite useful. You can actually see if I go back in here too, I shouldn't have switched away so quickly. It's, again, including things like meeting recordings where Megan has been the one that's clicked record. It's stored in her OneDrive, but this file has been shared with her, shared from her OneDrive with me. And that other example, so Isaiah was the person who shared a folder with me called Assets. So if we click into that, we've got a whole folder that I can click into and contribute to the assets within that folder. So by clicking straight on through, it's now taking me through to shared locations. OneDrive, again, you're starting to see, you should be by now, that OneDrive is not just about my files and about a application that lets me synchronize things into my Files Explorer on Windows, but it's also this destination for getting to all sorts of files across all the places that I work. This portal right through to assets, right through to the Mark 8 project team. It's fantastic. Well, what about this meetings view? Browse by meetings. If I can recall, what was it that I had in terms of meetings recently, or as you can see up here, upcoming meetings? When it got a little bit ahead there and started to use the upcoming meeting as a demo. But if this was an upcoming meeting, I hadn't attended the meeting yet, but maybe there were a few files that were shared in the chat that people wanted me to read and review that I could check out and try and prepare for that meeting. Then those files are there. And then for past meetings, we can see the people that were invited to the meeting, and as we click into this, again, it operates like a folder. We've got our list of the files that were shared before, during, and after the meeting, and that's in the meeting chat. And we've also got the meeting recording that is something of a hero file up here, pinned, so it's easy to find amongst all the files that are available there. Glancing down here at the activity, you can see when that meeting was held, how long ago it was recorded, again, who owns that recording. So I can, at a glance, I can see, all right, this is the person I need to contact if we need to take a copy of that file and put it somewhere where it's shared like a team, or maybe even share it beyond the people that were in the meeting so that they can view that meeting recording. This Contoso Marketing Principles PowerPoint was the file that I used and presented to the people in the meeting. I didn't just attach it into the chat, but I also uploaded it to use PowerPoint Live. And so that was shared and available to present, and it's now become one of the files that's the artifact of the meeting. Again, you come into these ways of viewing files and you can see everything that's related to the meeting. Of course, if you wanted to click through and see things like the meeting recording, I think that's supposed to open up here if I double click that. Well, it normally would, but let's open this up here. So that's just going to take you through to the recording where you can see things like the transcript and, the recording. We see that Stream's starting to try and chapterize the content in the meeting based on maybe presentations of a... There we go, I'll just mute that. That it might be based on files and slides that I've advanced through to, or things that I'm sharing. But yeah, the transcript's all part of that too, that sticks with the meeting. So the OneDrive meetings view is a portal through to that productive experience that I might have used. Now onto one of the key things that I really wanted to emphasize here is that OneDrive is the place to be able to get around the files of the places where you share files with people. When you're in a Microsoft team, when you're in a team site and a project site that is being used for collaboration. So under the quick access, what you will see is some of the places that you frequent. Microsoft Teams that you frequently go to might already be there when you visit this new experience in OneDrive. But you do have control also over the locations that you might want to frequent and make easy to find. So we went into, was it the Mark 8 project team earlier, when we looked at the files that were shared by Isaiah. And as we click through, just trying to emphasize here that this is the same experience as if you would go through and into a document library in the site. So you don't have to go into the site to work with the files. You can do this all from within OneDrive. And if I can draw a comparison here, back in the day when we used to use File Explorer to get to shared drives on on-premise file servers, we would use that one application, Files Explorer or Windows Explorer. We go through to our shared drives all down the side. Well, isn't that really as similar as we see here, that our shared drives are our teams and our locations, the sites that we frequently work in with our team members. Mark 8 project team, two ways to view this because it is a Microsoft team, so it will open up to the site library, the document library that we usually use, and so we can see the files and folders in there. And if you start to recognize the pattern, we've got a folder there for general, so that's the general channel, nothing shared in there at the moment. We've got other channels there too, so let's just confirm that there's another view that we might have got used to seeing. These are the folders that are specifically channels, so we know that the go-to market plan is a channel, whereas the Mark 8 project or Mark 8 website is a folder that is just standing alone within the document library. It's not actually tied to a channel. So you'll be able to navigate and go through to, let's see, if we hover over that, you go to channel. So we could go directly through to a channel, and we can navigate back to the conversations that are in that team. If we just jump on through to the web app, and we can see the related channel for that folder. I won't make you wait there, but you get the idea. It'll load up. The other thing I'd say about this too is that it gives us most of what we need, even when we're working with files and shared locations. Again, I don't have to go to the Microsoft team or to the team site, the SharePoint site behind it. If I need to switch around between different document libraries that are stored in this location, then I can switch down between here. Notice I've got another document library in this site and this team where we want to put our published documents somewhere where they're available, and it's a clear signal that this document is now available to the rest of the organization. Here's our copies. We've even put them in PDF. So we've got those sorts of tools there. And if you ever need to do anything here for managing just the core things that we need to do for managing files within a team or a team site, we can do that right here from OneDrive. We don't have to go to another application. So are you starting to see the pattern? OneDrive is the place to be able to manage your files across your files and across the shared locations that we work. So, select a file. You've got various different options that you can rename, reuse, download, move, favorite the file as well, so that we can see that in our favorited list down here later on. And it's again being able to send that signal that here's the thing that I'm working on, and making it easy for you to find a bit later on from your favorite view. As we look at the different views, we've got, that's right, the info panel, right? So this is quite powerful too, that wherever we are, not even just OneDrive, but within these shared locations, I can still go in and see, well, what happened with this Mark 8 elevator pitch? Tell me all the information about that file. Well, there's the thumbnail, there's who it's been shared with, and so it might be people in my team, but it might also be beyond that, and I can manage that access without having to go to the team site. I can see all the people where it's been specifically shared with them, the groups that it's been shared with, and if there were links that were created to share that file too. It's all there and manageable from within OneDrive. Scoot on down, if there was a bit more activity, we'd see a lot of things going on there, and the details, if you do want to grab things like the link through or the path to the file without all the extra stuff that sometimes is added at the end of a link, then that will get you to the file path, and if anyone has specific access or already has access to that file, they could use that link. So lots of different bits and pieces there. And look, the core things that we want to be able to do when we're moving and working with these files, maybe I'm in, let's say, the product folder, for example, and what I did do earlier was I moved some of these to that other document library. So if I select a file, I go in and I will move it to, and we'll go into our other document library. So let's navigate our way up using the the breadcrumb. Go back up to here, switch over to the published documents library, move it over here. It's going to tell me that there's a duplicate, so we'll go through that. But yeah, that's a way of being able to move the file. All right, I'm going to replace it, so it's got it as a second version. But it's fantastic, right? Are you getting to see it? Like I said, this wasn't going to be a deep dive, but I feel like I've gone through a whole lot of things, and then I'm talking at 300 words per minute. But it's all here, all right? So here's the other example. Like, what if the 3 places that are here in quick access aren't enough? Can I go and find other places that I work in? So this is improved. It used to be that you would click more places and it would just give you another few to check out. But now what we see is a full kind of page view here of what are the things that I've recently worked in and what are the teams and team sites that I might frequently work in. So I can go through and look and, okay, well, I'm part of the retail team. So that is a place that I want to visit. Let's click on through to that. Okay, good. I'm going to be working in here reasonably frequently now, so I'm going to pin that to quick access, and there it is. It's not really displaying very well at this time. I am working out of a virtual machine, so I might be doing some weird stuff as it displays this, but refreshing that, you now see that it's pinned there. Maybe I want to unpin it later, so it's not necessarily at the top of the list, but I can manage that sort of stuff, and I'm still here in OneDrive. Again, I'm not going off to the site. I'm managing it all from one location and benefiting from being able to stay in the zone as I do that. If you want to manage things like shortcuts and making locations so that they are going to synchronize down and give you that experience of doing that from within my files, let's say I want to make this whole, let's make this whole document library available within my files. So I'll add a shortcut to my files. Good, so that's available now. Go back to my files, and there it is, Documents Retail. It is a shortcut that I can then use to get through to that shared location. Now that's going to be good for if I'm synchronizing it down to a device and wherever I'm using OneDrive in that that regard. But do I need to do that now? If I've got this quick access area down here, I don't really need to collect all of these shortcuts now into my files experience if the shared files experience is so easy to get to over in these other locations. So maybe I don't need to do that anymore. But that is... I know there's a lot more to show you in terms of OneDrive. I've been recording for a while now. This was going to be a brief video, but I got carried away. So what I really wanted to get a point across was that OneDrive is definitely not your old manager's OneDrive that they knew from yesteryear. It is not just your files. It is not just a place to synchronize your files and synchronize whole folders anymore. It's the location to manage files in general. Think of it as your Files Explorer in the cloud. Now, what could we do as a last thing to make this a bit easier to use? What about installing this as a progressive web app? What do I mean? By installing the OneDrive web app as, instead of it being a tab on my desktop, let's use this app button here, which within Edge, that's what it looks like. You'll see the same kind of experience in Chrome. Click on this, install it. And what does this look like now as it opens up? It is its own thing, right? So here it is on the taskbar. I'm going to pin that there. And so this is going to, here we go, we'll pin it to taskbar and to start. It's going to let me, give it more presence on my desktop so that I can use that as the place to go for accessing my files in the cloud. All right, so here I am, I'm on Teams, I'm working on things, and then, I've got to check out my files and sort of, work across the different places that I'm collaborating with people. So I will open up OneDrive, and there it is as a shortcut, right there, looking just like the site that we were using earlier. So what do you think? Was that an exhaustive, quick walkthrough? Is there anything else that you'd like to know about OneDrive? Check it out. Do make a point of checking out these different features and developing some habits around using OneDrive as the place to go for all files. It's not to say that you don't go to your Microsoft Teams, you don't go to your team sites. No, you'll still go there for the different activities and places that you work. But maybe by bringing in file management down into one app, we might be simplifying the way that we work, helping to stay in the flow of work, and maybe reducing some of the stress. There you go, Daryl as a Service, your modern work mentor, bringing you some more info about OneDrive. See you again soon. Bye for now.